Joining us now is the CEO and the Chief Investment Officer of Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company. Dewey Steffen joins us once again on the Megacast. Dewey, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Tyler. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. So you are a financial planner. You run a financial planning company. Just tell us a little bit for specifics, because people have a general idea of what a financial planner does, but what is a financial planner?
Yeah, sure. Well, first I'll start talking about ourselves. And so Great Lakes Wealth is a financial services firm. And in this industry, a fancy term for financial planning is wealth management, right? So wealth management is a synonym for financial planning, which means understanding all that goes into one's financial matters. The other terminology would be asset management, or just the investment side. So investment management or asset management just deals with the investments, whether that's stocks, cash, the investments. You add in liabilities, the wanting of a date to retire, the goals, the wishes. That's where you go into planning, take your assets, plus all that other stuff. That's financial planning.
And so, Dewey, when should people be seeking the help of a financial planner? When is the right time to start that process?
The right time is now. We actually say that here at our firm all the time. It's never too late to begin. And so whether you're 16, 18, 21, the sooner the better. The longer that you have your goals working towards your achievement of them, the better off you'll be.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen. He's the CEO and the Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company. Learn more information at greatlakeswealth.us. That is their website where you can find more information. So lately, it seems like the markets are having some stronger days. They're having stronger periods where it's looking really bright and the future is looking like it's going to have a huge boom, and other days where it's dipping back and it looks like, okay, the pandemic's about to put us back in another big dip in the market. What is the best advice from your side of things as an expert in this field on following those trends and dealing with the fluctuating market, especially right now with so much uncertainty because of the pandemic and other issues?
So there is a lot of uncertainty, but there is actually a lot of certainty as well. And so the answer is actually you shouldn't be paying attention day by day unless you're a trader or you have a short-term need that you're trying to get accomplished. You have a deadline. So investing should be for the long term. Trading is for the short term. So if you know what the long-term prognosis is, which we think is extremely robust, so you want to invest. And then if there are these fluctuations, these dips, maybe that's when you add a little bit more. And if there's a run-up that's ahead of whatever you or your planner's expectation is, then you do this fancy thing we call rebalance.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen. He is the CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company, joining us on the Megacast. And so you're a financial planner. You have a lot of financial planners that are with you at Great Lakes Wealth. When someone is starting that process of, as you said, wealth management and financial planning, what should they be considering as they're choosing one financial planner versus the next, whether it be at Great Lakes Wealth or another expert or another individual?
Oh, great question. So the first thing you should do is, go get some information, and you can go to our website, greatlakeswealth.us, and there's information on our firm, which is certainly important. And then if you're going to look at other firms, their website hopefully has that general information also. But at the bottom of our website homepage are calculators, there are presentations, there's just a lot of generic information to help. So if you're thinking about, your first child's college education, how to fund that, we have a calculator where you can just put in different numbers and kind of see what it'll take to, get that goal achieved. If it's your retirement and you have, 5 to 10 years left, and you really want to know if you're on pace to make that happen, then you can use our calculators to kind of, again, put in some numbers, but also, again, talk to any friends, family members, people that you know and trust that have had success and that have had a financial plan done or do investing, and they can kind of be a good source of information as well.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company. As he said, you can find more information on their website at greatlakeswealth.us, greatlakeswealth.us. And so we're heading toward the end of the 2021 year. As we're approaching 2022, give us a little bit of those secrets that you're uncovering right now about investment strategies for next year. Not all of them, of course. You got to keep some with you and get people into the office over there at Great Lakes Wealth. But just a few things that you're looking at right now, some tips and tricks as people are preparing for 2022.
Tyler, I'm going to give you all of the tips. I'm just not going to tell you the tricks, okay? And so with that, there's some things that we know, and you even know, and everyone out there actually knows. It's just that you may not be paying attention or understanding fully. Number one is there's inflation that's happened. Inflation has, sparked a movement in America to where now, again, inflation is feeding on itself. So if you don't understand how inflation impacts your current dollar and your future dollar, that's where you need to start. So know that inflation is running rampant, and it will continue to do so. So make sure that your investment strategy or your plan, has an understanding of the impact of inflation, and you better be proactive about dealing with that. Number two, the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates low, since the pandemic happened a year and a half ago, and they have made it very clear that they're going to start to raise interest rates. And so when interest rates rise, that upsets the apple cart. That changes the deck, as we say. So you better understand that when you invest, when interest rates are going down, that's one approach, but you need a whole different approach when interest rates are on the rise. So you're going to have inflation for sure to deal with, and rising interest rates for sure to deal with in 2022.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company. Learn more about them at greatlakeswealth.us. And again, as greatlakeswealth.us. So you've separated yourself from other financial management services that you have expertise in cannabis investments. Tell us a little bit about that separation, why that happened, and what you're doing on both of those fronts.
Well, sure. So take a step back. So at our firm, Great Lakes Wealth, our mission is to provide Wall Street solutions with Main Street values to our clients, but also the entire community that we serve. So with that, we have traditional investments, your stocks, your bonds, your cash. You have conservative, moderate, and aggressive, depending on risk profile. Again, all of this, talk to a financial professional to understand where you may fit. But besides your traditional investing, there are investments called alternatives. And some of those could include cannabis. They could include digital assets, which might be cryptocurrencies. That could be leveraged real estate plays. And this whole world out there called private equity. And so one of those investments that we do offer is a cannabis portfolio for sure. And so I am happy to talk about it in detail if you'd like.
You did mention cryptocurrencies as well. That's something that's become more of a hot button topic here in recent months, and especially in the last year or so on the financial front. So give us a little bit of the digital assets or the cryptocurrency 101. If people are considering investing in some cryptocurrency or looking into purchasing some cryptocurrency, what should they be considering as they go into that market versus other markets that are more traditional?
Sure. Well, that one I would say definitely don't go it alone. Find a financial professional that can help you. It is a brand new asset class, if you will. Bitcoin, which is the granddaddy of them all, if you will, and what most say is the safest cryptocurrency. It's been around since 2009. So, it's just 12 years old, if you will. And every coin after that is, again, newer. So this is a brand new investments category, if you will. And so you need to tread lightly and fully understand. It's a great segue to, we actually have a podcast that we run, Tyler, and I've got my mug here, but our podcast is called What Do We Do? And we actually have a podcast episode where we talk about cryptocurrency 101 and what you should do to understand it. And then if you want to try to invest in it, what the best approaches may be.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen. He is the CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth. Learn more information and find out how you can get in contact with them at greatlakeswealth.us. That is greatlakeswealth.us. And so, Dewey, inflation, especially during the holiday season, has played a role in a number of different markets. We're seeing some prices on certain products skyrocketing and making some things a little bit more difficult for people and for industries as well. How does that play into your discussions with your clients in their financial planning going forward during this current crisis with COVID-19 and beyond that, knowing that inflation is going to be something that will always be affecting the markets, but it seems to be having a more significant effect as of late?
Yeah, well, again, another great question. And an upcoming episode of our podcast right before Thanksgiving, we dive into that and we give a list of things to do to combat inflation the best you can. One side of it is with your investments and what you can do to invest properly to participate or hedge against that inflation. The other one is in your spending habits and what can you do as a consumer to protect yourself and not be subject to this rampant inflation that you just discussed. A lot of that is, again, be specific in what you're shopping for and shop around, right? Maybe price compare and understand it and don't just go, buy whimsically. You may be definitely overpaying and it'll affect your pocketbook for sure.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth, a financial planning company. Learn more about them on the website, greatlakeswealth.us. And so it seems that we're slowly, month by month, getting closer to the end of the pandemic. Still a ways away, but it seems like it's more optimistic month by month. What has been learned from the financial planning industry, from businesses like yours and others in our local area and across the U.S. and the world? What sort of changes have been made in your approach to financial planning with your clients as a result of the past 20 months and ongoing in this pandemic?
Well, from an operational perspective, a lot of it comes down to communication and how you communicate. In the last year and a half, you didn't really see people in person. And so when you're doing financial planning, and this would go, if you're, being served by a physician and with medical needs, if you can go in person and sit down and roll up your sleeves and kind of, get in there, that's what you're used to doing pre-pandemic. But now a lot of it, whether it's Zoom meetings or technical calls, digital calls via emails, that's a whole new approach. So it actually makes you more efficient because you can have just a more succinct conversation that way. So that is number one from an operational perspective. And number two, the pandemic has changed the landscape, maybe forever, in terms of, again, what will be productive and not so productive. Interest rates are going to stay low for a long period of time. Efficiencies and scalability and how companies are going to sell their products. A company owner has to figure that out, but an investor also has to understand where the future is going, not where it was.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer with Great Lakes Wealth. And Dewey, just a couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. At this moment in time, as we're approaching the end of the year, any words of advice that people should be taking into heart as they're continuing their financial planning in 2021 and looking toward the future right now?
Sure. Number one, start your plan. Get a plan. Get started now. We always say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So find a professional, find someone and get started. There are tools all over the internet. Certainly we talked about at our website. But additionally, I'll leave your audience with this, that right now, cash is trash. Money in the bank doesn't pay any interest. Inflation is over 4% on CPI, which is a broad basket of inflation. Many, many goods and services are much higher than 4%. So if money in the bank is earning you nothing, and inflation is increasing the cost of goods by at least 4%, so you're losing money by having it in the bank, find investments that will keep up with inflation and certainly have 3 to 6 months of money set aside for an emergency. So be responsible with your investing. But again, cash sometimes is king, but not right now. Cash is trash.
Well, Dewey, we appreciate your advice and your insight as people are planning for the future, beginning their plans, or considering reaching out to a financial planner as they plan for their financial future and set their goals and work to achieve them. Before I let you go, where can people get access to your podcast so they can hear what you've done in the past and your podcasts coming up?
Yeah, appreciate that. So you can go to YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes. You can check it out, download, subscribe. We're in season 2. We recently had on Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and we also had on local celebrity Mike Valenti from 97.1 The Ticket. And actually this morning, we dropped a brand new episode with the Children's Miracle Network director from Beaumont Health Foundation. Her name is Charlotte Alex. And so we have an amazing lineup for the rest of the winter. Please go check out our past episodes to learn about cryptocurrency and financial planning and everything else. And I appreciate your time having me on today, Tyler.